Good evening, good day, or good morning, wherever you are from. Welcome back to now the second to last matchup of the evening. We've got Hein on Wraith representing Team Calamity, going up against the survivor team, Synapse, and with me on the casting desk, I am joined by the one and only ssbkid. Hello, good sir.
Hey, what's up, Mathis? How's it going? Like you said, 2 more matches today, 2 more sets potentially going the distance, just like the one before. Jiggy taking the distance to this pallet right now. This is going to be one for the books for sure. We have Hein on Wraith with a nice build on Wraith, of course. Obviously, Sloppy to force the slow heals and Bamboozle just to be able to vault windows, even while cloaked. Finally gets the down here, though. Very quick start, setting the tempo for the set.
And that's why he's called Flick Phillip. He curved right around that with his M1, using the purple Swift Hunt add-on that we see in the bottom left corner to its advantage, and also utilizing Windstorm on the other hand. I do believe those add-ons are quite map dependent, and really going with the Windstorm is most likely the smarter decision to go with on this map, considering how large Temple of Purgation is. Probably also the first time I've ever seen Killer being played on Temple of Purgation, and one of the very few times in general that I've even seen Temple. We see Hein just pushing Mono off into the basement. Probably want to get some more distance. We do see a beautiful head-on here by Jiggy, our injured Jake player. The Wraith didn't hear him quite as well. Does manage to get the pallet drop, but not get the stun. Doesn't make as much distance, but we also have to take into consideration he's not using Swift Hunt, so the pallet's break speed is not going to be accelerated whatsoever. It's gonna greet the pallet, but extremely unsafe one, and Jiggy will bite the dust on it. That's gonna be the second stage already on our survivor at 5 generators remaining, very close to 4, but it is very fast to see 2 stages get a Wraith getting this game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, two quick stages and on the same person. So now, as soon as Jiggy Jiggy can get off the hook, already on dead hook, and obviously against tier 4 killers, DS being banned as well. So that's where you see the fast and cloaking speed right there, and you have the Windstorm add-on, like you said. So I feel like on this map, good body block. I feel like on this map, you kind of need the Windstorm add-on just because it's such a big map, and you need to be able to get from point A to point B without wasting too much time. But as soon as you get the hit, playing a little bit of a hit and run Wraith, right, trying to maybe defend this hook, but they get the unhook onto Jiggy, and are we going to see the tunnel out, or are we going to try to get more pressure onto these survivors? Again, Sloppy providing the slow heals right here.
One thing that I also really like, the killers that both of these teams have decided on to play against each other. They have not, neither of these teams have played these killers before. We are going to see Wraith, Plague, and Oni throughout this best of 3, and before that they played Dread, Cenobite, Chucky, Cenobite, and Mastermind. So we see Cenobite, both of these have played already, but all the other players are completely unique. And in the meantime, we've got Jiggy going down a 3rd time already, and that's going to be the first death of the game. Not going to be much pain res value, but because Hein has the Pop Goes the Weasel to help out with the individual stages, no matter from whom he gets them. And that pain res is going to hit really hard now once it's only 3 survivors left. So every single hook is going to be a huge setback for our survivor team. Probably also resetting in the corner. So I doubt they really have any gen pressure going into this 3v1.
Yeah, no, definitely not a ton of pressure, especially obviously because we see that reset right here. And again, Sloppy just making it happen just a little bit slower than usual. And just the fact that, like you said, 3v1 pressure is actually really difficult to deal with, especially when you have 3 people on fresh hooks, which means 3 pain res hits on top of Pop. I feel like those pain res hits will hurt really bad once we get to 1 gen left, because at that point, they're just trying to create this pressure to get that last gen pop, and they're not going to be able to. And Mordo is not going to be able to get this ball right here. Great body block on the pallet, but I don't think they're going to get it. I'm pretty sure they're too far away from the map. That's going to be a basement hook here. Again, saving the scorch hooks just a little bit. So interesting situation right here. Obviously, the basement, you take a lot of time to go down there and get the unhook. So you kind of make up for it without, even if you're not getting the pain res, because you have the Pop Goes the Weasel as well. So great use of the perks and great awareness to just, get the unhook onto the basement, or the hook into the basement.
That's the Windstorm value right there, baby. He gets those body blocks so much easier if he utilizes the Windstorm properly, and we've seen that in beautiful display by Hein. And also this time, what I find quite ironic, Mordo was always the one survivor in in round 1 that we saw last week, he was always the one left of the last man standing in this trial, and this time he's actually the second survivor to be individually hooked. So you've got a nice change of pace here for Moto. He's going to have to adapt to this new situation, but he's probably very happy to not always be the one to assume responsibility as the last man standing of his team. And next one to be in chase is Pale, and we still have 3 available pain reses left, so every single hook that Hein gets is going to be huge, as long as it's not going to be basement that we've already seen by Mordo, and it's not going to be able to get much value out of it as they got the Hanuk extremely quickly, and Pale will be committed to by Adir Hein on the Wraith, and it seems like that's also going to be a really fast down again. The purple Winston helping out so much, and the flick around the corner is going to throw Pale right onto the bricks of the Temple of Purgation. Not going to be able to make it to the window, and that's going to be the 5th individual stage of the game. And are we going to see our first pain or our second pain res of the game finally? Yes, we will.
Yeah, and this is exactly what we were talking about earlier. This is when the pain res hooks are going to hurt very, very badly right now. You got 1 person injured. You only have 2 people that aren't on hook right now. So, you know, making time to get that reset is actually probably not the most optimal thing to do right now, because you need to start creating more gen pressure. But however, you also, you know, tier 4 killers have sprint burst banned as well. So it's not like, you know, Mordo has sprint burst that can sit on the gen as soon as they hear the Wraith growling, you just run away immediately. This is exactly what we're talking about, but does find this pallet right here. Gonna have to make the right decision right here. Tries to hide the corner, maybe a check spot right there, but you can't check spot this uncloak into the hit, and Mortal on the ground, and this is exactly what Hein needs to do. Find this ace and secure this 4K at 3 gens.
Yeah, you know, as soon as the first survivor died, Jiggy in this case, I was gonna ask you, how do you think they realistically get out of this situation? It's a 3v1 with 3 pain reses left and a Wraith. So, just communication-wise, that's going to be much more difficult as well. With the Windstorm, he's going to be able to get around the map so quickly. And we see Seer blinding the pallet here out of frustration, most likely, because how can you possibly come back? Jiggy died way too quickly into this trial. See a cheeky little moonwalk, but Hein knows nothing of that as he detaches his torso from his body and picks up Seer. Yep, and that's already game over at 3 generators remaining. This killer is able to snowball so quickly the moment someone dies. Probably everyone who's watching this right now has had similar situations with the Wraith, considering he's also one of the oldest killers in the game. It's so difficult to manage due to his invisibility, even if you're with friends on voice comms. The moment he cloaks and is not in chase of anyone, he could appear anywhere. It's really difficult to tell, especially if you don't help your first survivor that's being told out in any of the chases. We saw a big lack of support from his teammates. We saw him head on his own, but he only got it off once ever, so he probably didn't even have any other exhaustion perks to help himself with. So it was extremely fortunate for Hein to especially find this survivor out of all the other ones, the one that can protect himself the least. And that's just going to be extremely difficult for our team Synapse to recover from. That's going to be a 4K at 3 generators remaining. Unbelievable result for the Wraith, especially on a big map like this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Big map like this can make it really difficult for, you know, killers to go from point A to point B, but Hein making it work, with especially the Windstorm add-on, being able to get some body blocks, not even needing the bamboozles to get these, you know, these interesting cheeky window vaults to try to cut off survivors. So, you know, obviously great gameplay all around. What a statement to start off this set right here. It's been, you know, that was a really unfortunate way to go out at first. Jiggy, you know, maybe being a little bit too aggressive with the head-on, but, you know, I would definitely love to hear some more opinions from our analyst that is on standby constantly. Ratz, the legend themselves. How's it going? What do you think about that first match?
Oh, what a great first match. Thank you. This match was really fast-paced. We've seen a lot of not even hit and run, just like chases, going one after another, not having any downtime in between, tunneling the first person out that he's seen. I would like to touch on the build, but also the different playstyle what we have seen from last tournament in the Hellos League to this tournament now, with just one simple change, putting the map from Dead Dog Saloon to this one, Temple of Purgation. The size of the map and the distance between pallets makes the playstyle that's required to play this set so completely different. And I really like to see it because one team that used to love Wraith on DDS now probably hates it because the playstyle is so different. On DDS, you had like so many pallets in so close proximity, but not strong pallets, just like a lot of playable 50-50 pallets. And you had therefore no windstorm. You had seen the Shadow Dance to break pallets quicker and more coordination between hit and run playstyle, leaving people in chase, hitting gens, hitting resets and stuff. And now we see this playstyle where windstorm is extremely necessary to shut down the chases by simply body blocking. You use the pallet, the killer breaks it, and you don't reach the next one. So the chases also, I would like to touch on the build because the killer didn't even bring corrupt. They were so comfortable in the painless pop bamboozle with the sloppy to just say, you know what, I'm comfortable, I know where you guys spawn with those offerings, I'm gonna crawl across the map and get somebody killed ASAP. And that's what we've seen. And with the confidence that we've seen Hein play this game, I'm really worried what Yokat might bring up now, because he's also a really known killer to fight for win cons, as we've seen last week. Because sure, we have seen Synapse winning against Ariandel last week, which was a huge upset, but mainly also because Yokat has such great performances. So I'm very curious to see if he's able to do something similar, maybe force a tiebreaker set, or like not tiebreaker, but replay the set by also getting the same result. So I'm excited to see how he's gonna do it. Remember that we have the locking mechanism, so he has to put in a build before this first trial, so he can't change it anymore, depending on the win con. So I'm excited to see how it's gonna turn out. And yes, good, back to Mathis.
Yeah, you know, you've already mentioned the games from last week. Synapse played against one of the fan favorites, Ariandel, and beat them 2-1 with Dredge, Cenobite, and Chucky. We saw quite the upset that Yokat was able to pull out of nothing in his killer games. We saw the first was Bubbo on Dredge going into the first set, getting a 4K on 1. Then Yokat claps back with a 4K on 2. Then Cenobite. Yokat didn't play, and Ariandel won that quite clearly. And then the Chucky game, it was another 4K won by Knight like that case, and then Yokat came right back and finished it up with 4K on 2. You know, you've also already spoken about the map. We need to talk a bit more. We're getting very close to loading in already into the next trial also, but we need to take a moment as well to talk about the changes that the map has been put under after it's rolled, after the updated version was published a couple months ago. These pallets have become extremely 50-50, as you've already pointed out. Probably everybody remembers this extremely large log the log pile that we had before on the fillers, and now that's just a rock. That's about 3 meters in diameter. You can easily lunge around that, and with a killer such as Wraith, already has an extended lunge coming out of the uncloak, that's going to make it so much stronger, especially also with Stunned, and then Windstorm just helps him as Windstorm also just helps him to body block, as we saw it as well. With Dead Dog, there are so many choke points that the killer can hold very easily, with all the doors that he can just easily body block, but also survivors that can take hits extremely easily and very efficiently. This is not given at all on this map. It's very open, survivors struggle to take hits, and ladies and gentlemen, as you can already see it in the background, we have loaded in to the next trial. The man, speaking of the devil, Yokat, now once again on killer, playing Wraith 14 Synapse. Will he be able to turn another upset as he did last week? I very much doubt it, because I think our survivors are just gonna play it way safer. And this is not a 4K1, 4K2 con. This is a 4K4 con. And Yokat did bring out the corrupt this time. That's also one thing I didn't even notice last time. But he's already found 3 different survivors, and it's gonna bring out very similar perks, except for the corrupt addition that he has this time around. Do you think this is going to change much throughout the game now, SSB?
You know, it's really hard to predict what exactly is going to happen, but like you did say, you pointed out the change by bringing in Corrupt Intervention. Also, getting rid of Windstorm for the add-ons and going for the add-on that actually gets the faster window vaults and breaks pallets. That is good at the beginning. Like right here, every time you max the uncloak bar just to kind of mess around with like the timing of the uncloak, but then able to actually make it. However, the lack of Windstorm on this build means you can't go for those body blocks on the windows. unless you have to do it really, really early. And this is the classic strat right here. Just vault the God pallet until they force the break right here. And again, you see that Wraith, you know, a couple, like maybe about 2 years ago, got a slight buff to the base speed. That's so clutch right there. Got a buff to the base speed, so it's still not that slow without the Windstorm add-on, but most Wraiths run it actually. So this is gonna be interesting right here. Gonna die in the comp corner. Marco finally going down though. Yeah, this is like you said, 4K4. It, you know, it has to be almost a near perfect run right here just to tie the situation up.
Realistically, this win con should not be possible to achieve. With the Shadow Dance as well, we just saw the difference with Windstorm and Shadow Dance because Yokot was not able to catch up with the lunge on that, but with Windstorm he absolutely would have. But he also gained a little bit of extra momentum using Shadow Dance on Shaq, breaking the pallet, etc. So it's really difficult to tell what really would have done more of a difference here. Windstorm is probably overall the better choice just for map traverse, considering we are on Temple of Purgation, and this is something you desperately need for on any killer. And if you're playing a Red Forest map, same goes with Mother's Dwelling. There's already been 2 generators completed, and I doubt that a third one is going to take long to follow up, as we haven't even seen a third survivor. This is Laser now playing Michaela, has just popped the gen and went in for the Unhook. And okay, we see Pedro going into the save, so I believe Lacton should still be on a generator despite the corrupt intervention at the beginning. It's actually only 10%. Really interesting to look at. Maybe Yokot can turn this around.
Yeah, it's possible that you can turn it around. Yeah, that 10% is not that bad. That's, you know, that's a little bit more time. That first chase on that first down on a Marco took a little bit longer than expected potentially here, but here is going to be great job right there trying to get maybe the fake into the window so Yoka could swing at the window, but being really aware and understanding that those mind games at those really bad windows are kind of a last resort to try to extend maybe another 5 seconds into the chase. So you just have to be patient, and that is definitely what it is. But the immediate unhook, but this gen is actually really far progressed. Laser just wasted no time rotating to help.
Based on the playstyle, I don't think this is the way Yokot should be going for this game, since he's got the pain res and the pop. I believe considering he has to get this in a ludicrous win condition, I think he should really try to spread out the pressure here and go for those individual pain reses also. It's gonna make it oh so much more difficult, but he really has to be lucky these chases and get individual downs, get pop and pain res to slow down the generator progress as much as possible. But if he's trying to tunnel out one player, as he's already got 2 stages on Marco, I don't think the momentum of the survivor team is going to be slowed down enough to the point where Yokot could realistically 4K on 4 or 3 for the tie. And I don't really expect him to go for this regardless. Yokot is still trying his absolute best here, but he did use pop on a generator that was already only on about 15%. And we see one other survivor on a generator. Oh yeah, we see another whiff coming through as well, as Pedro manages to get the meat vault. And Lactron's gen is already at 70%, but I do think Yokot has a hunch over here.
Yeah, Lactron's gem was at 70%. That pain res hook onto Laser was able to buy himself just a little bit more time right here. Gonna try to get this hit onto Lactron. Finally, you know, commits to a little bit of a chase. Obviously, Lactron's kind of a bit of a gen jockey this game so far, just trying to create some pressure. But this forward lane right here, Bamboozle gonna help right here. You're gonna have to potentially drop this pallet. No, gonna ups to read it right there. And just like that, the win condition has been met. And there's the pallet drop. Extend the chase right there. Buying just a little bit more time. Let's see how long this is going to last for, or are you going to leave? As everyone watching could already tell, as much as we were in awe at the thoughts from the previous trial, this is just not possible for Yokot to get under any circumstance. As he is his luck is beyond all possible means to calculate any stats. But this is just... There's no way he manages to get this unless the survivors all group up and then just sacrifice down to him if they are feeling extra altruistic today. But of course that's never going to happen, and Yokot still with a really good performance so far. He did manage to get the second stage onto Marco relatively quickly, and I believe if he had decided to continue with the tunnel, he would have gotten that survivor out at, let's say, 2 generators remaining, and maybe could have even gone for a 4K at 1, but we see him switching up the playstyle entirely, and he did decide to do what I was already elaborating on also,
did decide to go for the individual downs with Pain Res this time around. He's gonna slug Lactron out as well, and gonna try to get another tag onto Pedro as the penultimate generator pops. But Pedro with a very cheeky vault, not gonna allow Yokod to break the pallet just yet. See him run off as well as Lactron is still left on the ground, and I don't think Yokod is gonna return to him anytime soon. Does manage to get the tag this time though, and oh yeah, okay, he does go back for it this time.
Yeah, gonna opt to finally go back. You see those scratch marks, you know, they've been rotating to try to get potentially this pickup right here. Finding Marco right here, but like you said, you know, this was a very difficult win condition to meet right now. So at this point, we're just playing for pride, but we love the sportsmanship. We love the fact that, you know, we still play these out to the very end regardless. But yeah, I mean, this was, I feel like, you know, we can definitely talk to Ratz later about this as well, but I feel like the lack of windstorm definitely kind of like, you know, it's maybe 2-3 seconds that you're saving, but that time adds up eventually, right? So that potentially could be one of the things. Like right here, you know, chasing all the way to the end of the map, even without the add-ons, could take just a little bit longer. Finally gets this hook right here onto Marco. Gonna opt to rotate. Lactron's still on the ground though. Marco finally out of the trial. Gonna take a break. Definitely gonna be greeted by his teammates on a job well done for sure though.
Surprised Lactron isn't playing William Bill Overback as he's being left for dead on the ground. Finally picked up, however. You see Laser being the next one in chase. That generator should be relatively close. Popping also, Yokad has not yet decided to use his pop on any of these progressed generators. It is getting quite close, and it's really difficult to say also with the add-ons. I do think Windstorm does have the upper hand over Shadow Dance when it comes to Temple of Purgation, simply because of how large the map is by scale. So yeah, it's debatable what add-on Yokod should have gone for in this case, but Swift Hunt is obviously always going to be the best choice for Wraith, simply because it helps him out in chase so much. Are we going to see Zero Juice here? One vote does come through, but the second is not going to suffice. It's not going to be fast enough. Yokod will be able to get a hit onto Pedro without being clipped. All three survivors are injured now, which usually is quite the advantage for... Oh, that was a very fast heal. Beautifully done by our survivor side of Calamity. They have been getting these resets really quickly as well. That's something we see in the previous trial. And also, Yokad took way longer to tunnel out one survivor. But this is kind of a very similar situation to what we had previously. The moment that 3v1 is enforced, there's so much pressure on the survivors now. And they feel forced, at least, to reset one another now. So I don't think we're going to see much gen progress as of now, but he does manage to find the reset here. It's going to be, they are going to make it barely in time. Pedro is going to be put right back into the injured state he's just been healed out of.
Yeah, definitely just been healed, and I feel like you said, you know, the survivors opting to go for these resets a lot more consistently. Like before Marco ended up getting out of the trial, we saw immediate unhook, immediate heal right there. Gets the hit onto Laser, catches him off guard a little bit, but I think it's just the lack of Sloppy Butcher. That's a little bit of pressure that, again, this stuff this time that you're wasting doing heals, this time that you're saving by running towards the survivors with a good Windstorm add-on, that time eventually does add up for sure though. But finally finds the hit. Everyone's back to being injured, a little bit more of a hit and run situation, potentially trying to cut off a Pedro, really smart, immediately going towards the shack window, waiting for this vault to happen.
Oh, he does have the unbelievably overpowered chain, the Z-wall and the shack window. This is, just realized that edge map tile is quite long, isn't it? That must be longer than most other tiles. That looked like you just ran past like the side of a T-wall. This, wow. I did not know that Red Forest had these large edge map tiles there. The Z-wall has for some reason been... I mean, it makes sense they made it shorter because of how overpowered it is, obviously. Fifth stage finally coming through. Pedro is also going to be another individual fresh stage, so that's going to be another pain res on the board that Yokod will lose also on the perk counter. And this game is progressing extremely slowly. Our survivors are trying to get everyone out, it seems like, or at least the three last men standing in our trial. Laser and Lactron just finished up the heal. And it's already also really funny how both Yokod and Tyne push survivors down the hall just by merely being there. He's just standing there menacingly as they both fall down. Laser will be hit and Yokod is just going to leave it as well. The hit and run strategy hitting hard in the 3v1, but it does end up being extremely strong as he's just forcing survivors over and over to heal. Something I talked about in the previous game also. Even though they're on voice comms, it's still difficult to communicate where the Wraith exactly is, and he could appear right behind you.
No, absolutely, definitely difficult to kind of tell where the Wraith is coming in. This is why we see Wraiths and pubs with survivors with no comms do so well, even in the competitive situation where you guys are playing hypothetically with almost perfect communication. You're still able to find these ambush attacks, these surprise attacks. As we finally get the down onto Lactrin, not going to opt to slug as long as earlier when Lactrin went down for about maybe 2 minutes or so. Probably not that long, but it felt like an eternity sometimes. Trying to get a little cheeky flashlight right there, maybe try to obstruct the view a little bit. No one home for it though. Yokat's trying to find maybe another survivor, potentially Laser again, like we talked about earlier, trying to get these ambush attacks. And Laser, so smart, just like the awareness to immediately just go to that window, because like you said, that window, that shack window into the Z wall, actually low-key kind of a strong combination. If Yokat didn't bring Bamboozle, that window combination would actually be really troublesome to deal with.
Might as well call this a score merchant game the way they're playing chess right now. This is being stretched to absolute fullest. Our survivors are trying so damn hard to get everybody out, get the slow progress on the gens. But with considering how quickly Yokat is getting... Oh, that was extremely risky. Pedro expecting Yokat to snap out of the uncloak, but it didn't and fully committed. Manages to get the down. Pedro is trying to waste a bit more time there. But yeah, this is now the point where our survivors have decided to just, oh yeah, okay, let's just go with our injured states and we're just going to try to push through the generators. But yeah, now we're seeing the result of that, or the direct consequence of them not healing up. Yokat will be able to get these downs way quicker. Also, obviously, because they're all injured, Yokat is going to hear them much easier. Oh, he's going to hit the rock there, however. Going to get Ultime into the wall. Laser buys a little bit more time. And that will be hit eventually, regardless, as there aren't any tiles to play around nearby. And that's everybody injured once more, as Pedro is still on the hook. And I think this should be the point where the game finally ends, as another survivor is put in dying state, flops right down. Yokai didn't have to be so cool and just defenestrate Lactrin right down into the basement. Laser, our last man standing, as Pedro bites the dust on the hook. And yeah, this is, yeah, we can already hear the Michaela from very far away. Laser, come on, man. That's why you mained Ada on your previous team.
Not the shots fired at my man's Laser. Laser, obviously very talented player in their own right. Definitely makes all these crazy plays. We've seen them featured on a lot of, DBD content creator streams as well. So, obviously Laser has their credit where credit is due. But honestly,
I'm just talking about the character he's playing.
That's right. All right, I got you. I'm mindlessly starting. I'm instigating. I'm sorry, man. But for real though, obviously all these survivors are talented in their own right. They all have a lot of things to offer to the table. Yokat finally ending this match right here, getting the 4K. However, at 1 gen, the win condition was met a lot earlier. Yeah. And it is what it is. But so far, here we go, potentially going into the next match. That match took a lot longer, but honestly, I would love to hear what Ratz has to potentially say about how the beginning of this match went and how different it might have gone compared to maybe bringing a couple different things or maybe going for a couple different plays. Ratz, what do you think, man?
We've seen two very different playstyles here. Like, as you said, give credit where credit is due. They have been brought up two different builds with two different set of add-ons. One going with the Windstorm, the other going with the Shadow Dance, and then the Corrupt with the Sloppy that's been exchanged. We've seen that one worked out better than the other, obviously, but you can't blame them. This has been the very first game of Wraith that we've seen on this map.
Yep.
This team only had 1 week, or maybe even less. I don't know exactly when the picks and bans have been completed for those two teams. Only like 1 week to prepare, a bit less, like 5-6 days. Trying out some stuff, and I mean the other team probably prepared this pick maybe from 2 weeks ago already, and fair enough. Like, both worked out. Obviously, both have been the 4Ks, right? Both have been able to show that they are able to play Wraith on a different playstyle, and we've seen that one worked out better than the other. I'm excited to see if we see another team pick Wraith in the future, what they will have to bring, because now that we've learned this in such a setting, maybe teams will take this and learn from it, maybe, and make up builds that suit the playstyle, or consider the Windstorm potentially. Like, it's very different considering what we had seen in DDS, and this is nothing to compare to anything that we've seen in comp before, in my opinion, because of this very much different playstyle. Where we have seen both teams 4K, whilst we put up Wraith from tier 4 to from tier 5 to tier 4, allowing balance and life, for example, and now they're still getting 4K. So maybe Wraith should be tier 3 in the future. Who knows?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
just the way that, like you said, like the way that the playstyles are changing, like there's more than one way to do the thing, right? Which is honestly really cool to see. And like you said, a lot of these teams, they're definitely going to take these videos, take these VODs, and just review and kind of learn from, like you said, maybe bringing in some different add-ons if the map does change again in the future, because like you said, we're used to seeing the Dead Dog Saloon realm with the Wraith, so definitely potentially going to see a little bit of a counterplay here in the near future. And like you said, this is a bracket where like there's not a whole lot of time to prepare, because we have a match on Sunday, and let's say you play Saturday, that's only 6 days away, right? So you sometimes you have to make those quick calls, and then maybe not a whole lot of time for adjustments. So, but eventually, as we see the kinks get worked out a little bit, we'll see a lot more optimal plays, maybe a lot more of a consistent build being brought around next time as well. But yeah, no, definitely for sure. This was really fun to watch for sure. And I mean, that's it for the first killer, though. I mean, Ratz, thanks again. Obviously, the analysis is great. As obviously, lots of comp experience as well. Mathis, I'm pretty sure you also formerly like did a lot of competitive stuff too, right? So just potentially, I'm the noob right here, like the non-experienced guy. So it's really nice to kind of see the way like I play pubs, man. Like I don't know what y'all talking about, but it's really fun to watch for sure. So it's been a really fun time, but I think we will be moving on to the second killer, yeah.
Oh yeah, very soon. But what's even funnier? Yokart and also the team that we're about to watch in the upcoming matchup with Eternum. Those are all of my former teammates. So I know for a fact that Yokart doesn't need Temple of Purgation. My boy can 4K on Dead Dog and all of the other maps as well. I've seen him get any kind of results before. So with Temple of Purgation, it's really interesting to see with 4Ks this early into the trial. I think, well, it's really difficult to naturally try to analyze Yokart's game, because he had basically an unbeatable win con. So we can only really properly look at Heinz playthrough, and I think the biggest mistake there was just that they let that survivor die so quickly, and no one really came in for help or hits or anything like that. Something that you would see more naturally on Doctor, because at one point you're just realistically, if a Doctor plays perfectly, you're supposed to never get a vault or a pallet drop, right? So there have to be hit tanks sooner or later, and I think that's also where Wraith is a bit underestimated also. There have to be much more throughout the trial, and we saw a great lack of that in at least these past two games. Have we ever seen a protection hit in either of these games? Well, in the second one, as I already said, it didn't really matter because of the win con. Yeah. Even Yokart can't turn that one around, despite him being able to create such impressive comebacks. Yeah, it's difficult to say that second game, but the first game, that 4K on 3, that was absolutely impressive by Hein, regardless.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel like, and not to dwell on it a whole lot longer, I feel like one of the things that I do remember seeing was the Jake trying to get these head-on plays. We saw like an early head-on, and like I feel like those weren't necessarily panning out the way that they wanted to, because obviously you head on to stun and waste a little bit of time. But if you're the one that is dead on hook, maybe you should be playing a lot more stealth-like, maybe trying to delay that death a little bit longer, because like you said, not a whole lot of protection hits, just an immediate death right there. But yeah, that's just kind of the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. But yeah, we're gonna move on to the next killer, so I'm super excited, man.
Yeah, right before we load in, huge thanks once again to Ratz for knowing so much about the rule set. I could never recall any of what you've just pointed out. I could never get that out, just pull that out while casting. Thank you so much for your input on, especially also on the tier balance list. I could never keep that in mind. So that's great to have that third perspective on the game. But yeah, we're finally loading into trial number 3, or the first set of first game of set number 2. That's it. Everybody, get your sunglasses out before we get into this game, because we're on Tormund Krieg with the Plague. This time also Synapse's pick. Yeah, also one thing to point out, Wraith was Calamity's pick, and that's the one that they also won. So far they are keeping their promises. Let's see if Yokart, presenting Synapse, can turn this around.
Yeah, definitely gonna have to turn this around. Gonna have to make almost like you need to make as much of a dominant statement as Calamity did earlier, just to set the tone to force it into the tiebreaker. But Plague, again, one of those killers that not very uncommon at all. Definitely one of the mainstays. You know, one of the more solid killers in this game, obviously. So gonna opt to find the immediate vomit onto Hein, and again just setting up shop. This is kind of a little bit of a slow start, which is kind of what Plague does, right? Because you obviously around maybe 2 minutes into the game, you have to try to make sure everyone's infected to begin with, and everyone's just playing with 1 health state at this point. But and that's exactly what we saw, and you see every time the HUD updates you on the vomit progress, that also just shows when someone's falling through the window, doing a gen, healing another survivor, or whatever, right? Or unhooking a survivor. You're gonna see that. But finds laser, but opts to just go for this Kula Corrupt, maybe to try to get some pressure immediately after. Right now, let's see how it pans out for Yokat.
I've got a question. I'm quite concerned for Yoka's well-being because look at his add-ons. My guy's being in double apple. He might have a vitamin deficiency.
Well, he kept the doctor away. He kept 2 doctors away, because you know what they say, an apple a day.
Apple a day keeps the doctor away.
Yeah, so that's definitely what you're gonna have to do. But yeah, I mean that's definitely, again, this is a situation where as soon as you see, ooh, that's so interesting actually. Finding the nooks and crannies on this main building side of things to try to get that hit. Finds the down right there on the Hein. Great stuff. Gets max use out of this corrupt purge.
Yeah, using those nooks and crannies on main building, but the blimp that's come crashing down, I just hope that isn't the Hindenburg. RIP. Yokat will be able to get his first down off the trial. Finally, as you said, using the ability to snipe through those gaps in between the wooden boards. Rest in peace to all the passengers. And we are going to see the first look, also a very similar build to what we've seen previously. We've got the Scourge and the Pop and the Crop Intervention, this time just with a Thanatophobia around. The great placebo perk that we always see on especially killers like Plague that do profit a lot from always having survivors injured easily through the ability. Gonna try to wait out the base kid borrow time here, but our killer, yeah, it's getting confused near the entity. Haha, funny. Still has the live, so we'll be able to make it much further.
Oh, that was a really great line of sight break right there from Hein. Opt to die in the corner right there, though, for sure. And like you said, the Natophobia. What swing and a miss? We're playing Minecraft. We are playing Minecraft now, my friends. Okay, gets a little bit of stone right here to try to get something going. But yeah, like you said, the Natophobia being such a strong killer perk. But even with all of the slowdown provided with that perk, we still managed to see 2 gens pop in the distance. Not before Hein, though, on Death Hook.
This is the second time now that Yokat hit a rock in 2 games. But gotta correct you, they're not rocks, they're minerals, Marie. So Yokat might have an affinity as much as Hank does from Breaking Bad with those precious minerals. Already also going to be the second stage for 2 generators. So we've got equality of outcome here going on in our games. Hein will already be very close to death also. Yokat's probably just gonna pick up another pool right here as well. And then head back right over to the hook. So in case anyone dares to unhook our dear Hein from our Wraith MVP, then this might just turn into a double down very quickly if our survivors aren't careful. And Yokat manages to get some more snipes of the wooden planks on the blimp on the main building. But yeah, it seems like our survivors are just going to leave our boy for dead and they're instead going to triple yet. B3 split on generators as Hein bites the dust on this. There's still 3 generators remaining. Now, if Yokat doesn't find anyone for 2 minutes, which is very realistic, not at all, then they will be able to pop all 3 generators. We see a pre-drop of Shack Pellet. They do not want to mess with this ability. Everybody is injured besides Pedro, so that's still going to be some Thanatophobia base kid. That's going to slow down the game a tiny bit for our survivors. Laser has great foresight off the puke and manages to dodge it quite effortlessly. Yokat is also just immediately going to abandon chase. That ability is probably going to run out very quickly, and people are going to assume, well, he didn't get much value out of it in overall, didn't he? But only because of that was he able to properly camp out our dear Hein on the hook, because no one dared to come anywhere close. And as it now runs out, he will be able to put his infection as he gets fat shamed on all the individual generators. So Pedro should be put into the injured state or infected sooner or later as well if he doesn't want to wait out the generators.
Absolutely, and one of the things to know also is, like you said earlier, unfortunately, letting Hein go. Yeah, there's the infection onto Pedro right there. Gonna get the corrupt purge right here, but yeah, getting that corrupt purge when Hein was in the struggle phase, around midway through that bar of time, it was honestly one of the most optimal things to do, because at that point you definitely can't go for the save, right? Like maybe you could get a trade once like you just start the struggle phase, but about halfway through it makes no sense to try to go for that hit. And Pedro cleansing earlier to maybe nullify a little bit of that thanatophobia effect. And when Hein died, they did actually lose a little bit. They lost like a quote-unquote a stack of thanat also. When the survivor dies, you do get that whatever percentage is back. But right now, gonna find the hit onto Pedro. No, not able to fit the corrupt purge through the pallet right here. Goes for a Kobe right there from downtown. Doesn't actually get it though. Wastes a little bit more time, but gets the pallet break. Pedro sort of in a dead zone right here, and that's gonna be the down.
One thing that Yokot has also already been able to set up, there's a 3-gen around Jack. It's not the best of all 3-gens, absolutely not, but did they just pop it? I think they actually just did. Well, speak of the devil, yep, there we go, that's his 3-gen gone, and we've got a clear 2-2 split. 2 generators on Shaq and 2 of the other remaining ones around main, so Yokot is not in a compromising position whatsoever here, but every single survivor is injured. One's stuck on the hook still, and the other one is now in chase, so only one may realistically go or be on another gen at the moment, but Lacton is most likely going to head over to the save, and Yokot this time is going to avoid the barrel that he got stuck on just recently. Oh no, he is actually going to pop the gen. That's 1 generator remaining, and he will be able to get the unhook very soon, as you see a cheeky dodge here by Laser using a crouch, and just because of that, Lacton might be able to get the save in time as Yokot dragged even further to the corner of the map, and he will be able to get it. I think it was only because of that crouch that Laser just did. So great portrayal of Laser here, showing us that every millisecond matters in DBD.
Absolutely maximizing the time. Every second counts in order to make these plays for your team right here. Pedro, though, unfortunately in a really compromising position right here. That's going to be the M1 or the M2. Just nullifies the pallet right there. Doesn't even matter. Gets the immediate pickup right there. Gonna get the second hook onto Pedro. Yeah, this is, not before they got the pickup on Laser as well. So that just goes to show how coordinated everyone is. Like every time that you're chasing a survivor, the rest of their team is always doing something in order to put a thorn into your devious plans. But like you said, 3-gen being broken as well. Those survivors were on the same mindset and same wavelength as you, Mathis, because they were like, yeah, you're right. There is a 3-gen down here. Let me break that real quick. Gonna try to maybe get the immediate rescue here. No one home for it. Gonna camp this out a little bit. Actually, no, someone was here, but unfortunately, they're gonna have to traverse back towards that top side of main building. Now, the question is, how are we going to pressure this last gen, but also try to threaten that unhook onto Pedro, or are we just going to let him, sacrifice? Are we just going to sacrifice him for the sake of getting the last gen done?
If this was Synapse on Survivors, I could have done could have pulled out the incredible joke that because their team's Synapse, I was sending over brainwaves to them to let them know that there's a 3-gen, but it's Calamity on Survivor at the moment and Synapse on Killer, and Jokard is evidently not listening. Come on, man. Nah, it's got
Delusion.
Maybe even corruption going on here. No, of course not. We're not biased here. And Pedro is going to bite the dust here, unfortunately, on the hook now. That's only 6 stages in, so Yokot doing everyone proud here. Whoever complains about tunneling, yeah, he's got 6 stages and 2 kills. You know what that means. He's focused out 2 survivors. And Laser and Lactron, the double LA combo, we've got the alliteration going on between these two. Are the last ones to be standing for Team Calamity. It's going to be very unrealistic for them to get this last generator done unless Action is able to run him on a used up short wall jungle gym and a TL for another minute until Laser pops it. He is going to win the first 50-50, but Yokot knows nothing of it, and he's just going to vault, and he will be able to finish the last remaining generator. That might just be the one reason of the next WinCon, or that might just be the one thing that will tide for the upcoming game here. Maybe we're going to see barely the escape coming out in the next trial, or 4K on 1 generator remaining would already be enough for 2-0 for Calamity. And I'm also realizing how many 4Ks I've been watching recently, because all that I've been casting has been 4K, 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 except for the Cenobite game with between Synapse and Ariandel. And we're just continuing the trend here, it seems.
Yeah, definitely going to continue that trend. I mean, you know, definitely going to put it all out. Finally sees, I believe, Laser Cross. Yeah, there it is right there. Going to try to maybe get that quick pickup, but immediately going to have to go down right here yet again. No pallet, I believe, on this tile right here. Has that window. Going to try to vault it. No. Going to focus on the Laser. However, you know, are you going to be able to at least get one escape right here, or is this going to be the 4K, like you said? The 4K at 5 gens done, though.
Yeah, you know, I find it also quite hilarious how we've gone with the seasonal balance for a more chill event with easier mass on the survival side, but all we're seeing is 4Ks. So our killers must have got really frustrated as soon as they saw the balance and have licked blood and got a good taste of it. And now they're just out bloodthirsty and just with just literal blood loss going through their veins, besides what they're also collecting in the games. But yeah, it's Lactron will be next in chase, but it seems like we are not continuing the trend, as Laser will be able to escape fresh. They is going to just leave Lactron behind, but Lactron also is very close to Shaq, and this is the hack spawns. It's not going to be enough. Even with a pointer, it would have never been enough. Unfortunately, Yocker is going to hit him with the ultimate BM. It's going to stomp it out right in his face. Pick up Lactron, seal the deal. That is going to be the 9 status with 1 fresh escape by Laser. So that's going to help out tremendously, not only in the hook category, but also in the individual stage category that we have in our point balance. And then also 5 generators remaining. That is still, considering what we've seen so far today, that is quite a good result for the survivors. But Yokkab is still with 9 status. That is something you need to achieve first.
Yeah, definitely good results all around for the survivors as well. And, you know, one of the things that might have actually come back to bite Yokat is actually Laser running the resilience, just getting a little bit of a speed boost, right? Because last time we saw, you know, the point of views change onto Laser, we saw that yellow bar. So I had to think maybe it was resilience, and I checked again for sure. And it was able to actually get that gate open very quickly, which is why we almost saw that hatch play also. But man, what a way to start this game 2, this plague set right here. I mean, it was really a treat to watch for sure. Maybe we get our analyst back. Ratz, what do you think, man? What did you notice anything that might have caught your attention and maybe want to share with us a little bit?
Take it away.
Yes, for sure. I want to cover up something that's probably I bet people in chat have been going wild about that you guys have missed. In the end game, when Laser picked up Electron at the very end, right? Laser was in a chase for like a solid 5 to 10 seconds, running to Shack, running onto Rock. That was a 99 SP that he has used there that denied him the down. If Laser died there on Shack, Electron would have been zoned edge map and then basically confirmed the 4K there. But that 99 SP that Laser had allowed Calamity to even get that out in the first place. I just wanted to cover that because I think got lost in the sauce.
So you're telling me he's not only cheating with the 9% resilience speed boost on the gate, but he's also speed hacking?
Exactly. But no, jokes aside, I would like to also touch on the build that we have seen from your cut. We have seen the double apple, which is actually, in my opinion, fairly rare nowadays in comp. Like usually we see 1 apple and then duration, or 1 apple and the infection duration, like power duration or infection duration. Especially with the Thanatophobia, that's a really strong combination where you basically avoid the survivor, like the survivors want to avoid not getting injured because of the force stack of Thanatophobia, like the force stack being the deciding factor there, so they want to keep somebody fresh. But the gens will be puked on for longer than a minute if you puke on them, so it's kind of like you don't want to wait it out. So that is like a really strong combination. However, we have not seen that. We have seen a very aggressive playstyle with the 2 apples from your cut, grabbing the first power, that allows him to grab the first power before the first chase even really started, downing somebody, and then getting the tunnel out with the second pool, and if the chase gets dragged across the map, he'll more than likely have another pool to confirm the tunnel out even over there. So a very aggressive playstyle, paid off for the tunnel out. It was very close to being a 4K, as you've seen the 3-gen that he was probably trying to play. It got propped, good performance from the survivors to get that done as well. Yeah, I'm interested to see how they're gonna do it. How Marco has set up his build before they played Survivor, because they need to stock in the builds, as mentioned already. How like what perks are we going to see? We've seen one Plague set before last week against, I think it was Tremor and I don't know who were versed exactly, which we have seen a No Way Out as well in coming in play. So I'm excited to see what he's gonna run and how this game is gonna turn out. Remember, it's gonna be two EU teams versing each other, so M1 chase on this map is kind of difficult. So we kind of rely on getting some powers and getting some downs, with that. Or maybe some insane mind games on main. Who knows? I'm excited to see what they're gonna pull up here. WinCon is 9 stages, 3 freshers, so 10 stages would be win for the killer. 9 stages with 4 freshers would also be a win for the killer here. This is mixing up the teams. Help me up. Calamity played Survivor, so Calamity is
killer. It's about to be Synapse
now.
On Survivor. It's about to be, yeah, Calamity on killer, exactly.
So that's the WinCon. We'll see what they're gonna bring up. Are they gonna get 4K again, like as we've seen, or maybe pull up a really strong fight now and get the 8 stages or less result?
Yeah, if Calamity managed to get the 10 stages in the upcoming game, it's going to be Marco presenting his team on the Plague. If he manages to get those 10 stages down, then this will be the 2-0 for Team Calamity after we've seen Synapse beat Ariandel. So as we've already pointed out several times, I think this tournament is going against all expectations, and I'm all here for it. We've seen Synapse beat Arianda, and now Calamity is about to beat them as well. But we did see Calamity with a more dominant first round, as they managed to easily, effortlessly 2-0 Midway in first round. But Arianda is also a more experienced opponent to face off in the first trial. One of the fan favorites, as I also already pointed out, once or the moment we even began, or the moment SSB and I even came out to casting here. But yeah, we are now loading in to potentially final match between Synapse and Calamity if we see a 10-stage performance by Marco on the Plague in the upcoming trial. We'll be right into Tournament Craig. I hope nobody put down the sunglasses because you're going to need them once more if you don't want to be completely blinded by the sun blasting down onto our cornfield.
Yeah, absolutely. Put on the sunglasses, get that extra UV protection right on those shades. But right now, we are going to get started. Like you said, Marco has the WinCon set. Gonna have to go for, if I'm not mistaken, either 10 stages, like you guys mentioned earlier, or 9 stages and 4 fresh hooks as well.
Yep,
so
exactly.
Extra fresh hook might be the difference maker for sure. Potentially could see it right here. Gonna get the infection right here. Gonna go more on the traditional side of things, right? Not going for the double apple this time around.
Yeah, he's chosen to go with the Hematite Seal, which is going to increase the infection duration on props. Hit by his puke by an extra 30 seconds, so that might help out. Well, never mind. Goodbye. Alright then. So something happened behind the scene. This is where we are actually going to take a short break then, and to figure out what's going on. We'll keep you updated the moment we go, or we load back into the game once it's been successfully restarted. We'll see you just in a few moments. Hello everybody and welcome back to now the actual rematch, or the actual potentially last game between Synapse and Team Calamity. So the reason why we had a restart is word around the block got to me, and apparently not everybody put on their sunglasses in time. No, jokes aside. So, well, kind of a small mistake by us. So what actually happened is one of these survivors brought in a custom perk, so they had a different icon for one of their perks, which is completely fine. There's no problem in that. But we didn't identify the perk in time that they were using, so we thought they were using a Originally, they brought in Babysitter or Guardian, and they were using the old icon for it, which we didn't identify right from the get-go. So it was called for a restart because we thought they changed the icon, or the entire perk before the game begun. And if you're not familiar with the just yet, so the survivors and the killers, they have to post their build that they are about to bring into the trial before the game starts, and then it is checked once more the moment they have already gone into the trial. And obviously it didn't match up. We thought it wasn't Guardian, it was a custom perk, so it was restarted. But let us get now, without further ado, let us get right into the trial.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Definitely, you know, sometimes things happen, but it's all good. We're right back into the swing of things and already back with the change in pace right here, already finding the chase and the full infection onto Pele right here. Gonna get potentially the down right here. Maybe a mind game will save you here. No, yes, it will actually. Gonna make it through the main building. That's such a nasty setup right there. That longish pallet right there once it's dropped into the window, buying maybe about another 10 seconds of time, pending another mind game right here. And no, just gonna end up to holding W. Can you make it to this window with Bloodlust? We have that extra pallet, remember.
And not a single one has been kicked yet, and of course Pele is just going to abuse it to its maximal potential. And the Bloodlust, was that even Bloodlust? I don't think he even Bloodlust in time, but it's a 50-50 as Marco managed to get to the shorter side. He's crawling towards the locker there. Okay, I was expecting add-on then. That also made me a bit anxious the moment Marco turned around and went right past the lockers. I thought there was going to be a head-on in there for sure. So would still be able to be in that position as he's the only one not infected, and obviously the other ones would have revealed themselves. But yeah, with both of those pallets now finally gone, this main building is now much unsafer. But yeah, that's also one mistake that, one thing that Marco did quite smartly is he went to the shorter side of that pallet and then instead just tried playing the 50, waited for Pele to be locked in the animation of the vault, and only then will he swing. If he was on the other side, then Pele could very comfortably just keep on vaulting, and if he reacts accordingly every time, then he would never catch up. But our killer did everything correctly. Marco went to the shorter side and was able to catch him off guard. As we are now also seeing him being canned into second stage, it seems like. Also bringing in the exact same add-ons he had in the previous trial. And yeah, that one's, if in case you're not, if you're not rewatching, I haven't really seen the game that we've essentially cut out as it was restarted. He's bringing the Hematite Seal, which is going to increase the infection duration on props hit with Vile Purge by 30 seconds instead of, or unlike Yokart's double apple that he brought the game before. This time we're only going to see the Blessed Apple, which pretty sure everybody's familiar with that one by now, but it's just going to cause one pool of devotion to spawn in a corrupted state right from the start.
That Corrupt Purge might actually secure the kill right here on Pele. I'm not gonna lie to you. Just the fact that you're able to, like, the fact that it was so readily available right behind the hook in the main building, like, the trade's gonna suck right here. You're gonna go down, and unless it's Ace that comes in and gets the save, but we saw Ace working on the generators earlier, so potentially you don't see that rotation right here. But anyone else that comes in and gets the save is probably gonna go down. And then on top of that, they're not going to get picked up. You're just going to get the ton out anyways. So I think they're just cutting their losses. It's just going to let this guy die. No, that's exactly what is happening. Gonna make it through. Now you have to outlast this chase, outlast this purge, wait out the BT, and then throw the M2 right here. Gonna potentially end up maybe, I mean, what's the plan right here?
So with the clutch there, however, getting that unhook last second, he is going to sacrifice himself for Pele, who does not much longer later go down also. And that's going to be 2 survivor slug now. And Marco in a very promising position is going to go for vaults here and cut inside. Very unique pathing here, trying to catch our Nancy or Dark off guard. But this is a relatively well-known 1v1er, and it shows right here. To survive the TL and might just barely make it to the upcoming pallet, and he does! An unbelievable comeback here caused by Dark, a phenomenal chase. It is going to allow his entire team to come back. Maybe, just maybe, they even get Pele back up, and they do! Marco just lost everything just because of one quick chase. His hubris was his downfall. Marco is not going to be able to get Pele back up, picked up, and that is going to be all 4 survivors off the leash once more. They will be able to try to cause as big of a comeback as possible. With only 1 generator left, and Marco still has to get another 7 sages just for the tie.
Yeah, and there's 3 people who haven't been hooked at all yet, so that's gonna be a situation that, you know, you are gonna finally get this kill, but you took so long to confirm it. 1 last gen done, 3 people haven't been hooked yet, only has 3 stages, and again, Thanatophobia being a factor, obviously whenever Pally does officially get fully sacrificed, you're going to get just a slight speed boost, because that's going to only be 3 survivors affected by Thanat because the fourth is going to be dead. But are you going to find something right here? Still has a little bit of Corrupt Purge to make something happen, but so far right now, the other survivors are playing this rather smartly, but Ace is finally going to go down. Heroic antics, no, the crouch, and the chain, trying to get the cracker right there, trying to get the blind, just to be able to make it to this pallet, but great game sense and throwing out the M2 immediately from Marco. Gets another fresh hook, but, only 2 stacks with no way out right here if this last gem pops, but does get another pain res right there, and I think it was the one in main building.
Yeah, seems like Marco might just come back from this in the end, as he's now been able to kill Pally, eliminate him from the game, and also get the individual stage onto Seer. Second pain res also off the trial, and he's still got a very spicy looking endgame perk to potentially turn around the pace of the trial. Got 1 survivor currently unable to do generators, and he only really needs to find Dark and Mordo once more. One of them is most likely setting up to get a gen done, or they might also just be doubling up on the last remaining generator and then hoping to get 2 survivors out of the exit gate if they manage to jump right onto a gate after popping the generator. But it seems like no one is nearing the hook just yet, which is also definitely not possible regardless, since they're both injured and would not be able to get the save unless we see a very cheeky burst run right into the hook. And we do see the last final generator pops, and 2 survivors are yet to be found. We see Marco trying or scouting out the edge map, hoping to find a survivor sneaking past for the unhook, but it doesn't look like a survivor has even made the attempt to go around this side. And No Way Out is now finally procced, so they will most likely be forced to get the unhook here. Which would be really good timing right now, since Marco is exactly cross map from this hook. But doesn't look like they're getting this. Oh, we do see the hook turn right in the distance there, and that is going to be all 3 survivors standing. All they need to do is hide out the No Way Out now and get 2 survivors out the gate, and this would be the win for Synapse, and this would force both teams to go to tiebreaker set.
Yeah, this would force the tiebreaker set right here, and again, only 24 seconds of No Way Out just because of the 2 stacks right here. Finds this right here onto the ace. Are you going to get the down? But at this point, the No Way Out timer is probably up already. You're going to have to go for potentially the exit gate right here, and yeah, exactly. You got to go find these gates. You got to go maybe get some more hooks right here if you want to force this in, but at this point, it looks like the tiebreaker is all but inevitable.
Also good, so it's not 24 seconds, it's 12 seconds base, and then 12 seconds for each individual survivor hook that he had. So that was 2 stacks, 30 seconds. 30 seconds were the exit gates blocked for, 36 seconds. And now Seer is our last man standing. 2 survivors already escaped. He's most likely trying to just go end map, trying to get a 3-man escape. There we go. That is a huge difference in the result. We've got a 3 out in the previous trial. We had a 9 stage, 1 escape. So this is going to render this 1-1 score at the moment, and we are absolutely going to get into the tiebreaker set, which most people are probably going to be very happy about, since it is me, but it is not going to be Call Tower or any of the familiar maps that you might see them on quite conventionally. It is going to be Dead Dog Saloon. But let's see a third perspective on the trial that we've just had. Ratz, take it away. I see you already unmuting in the call. Want to let your thoughts come out, so I'm gonna block those any longer.
Of course. As I said, again, we have... Oh god, one sec. Okay, I just opened some other tab on my browser for some reason. Anyways,
you're not supposed to click on the ads, man.
No. So what I wanted to mention is that we've seen 2, again, very much different playstyles in the killer games, one working out on the other, but both of them, credit where credit is due, they've been able to perform on, and it just didn't work out on one of them. So we have seen the very aggressive playstyle with double apple from your cards, getting the first down with the first power already, and then securing that person with more apples, essentially. And now we have seen Marco going in with a different playstyle of getting the 4th Ana sex potentially with the seal that we have been talking about, and only having 1 apple available, basically requiring him to get an M1 down for the first chase, which he did. He had Bloodlust 3, and eventually he got down. However, what has happened here was that the survivor that got hooked had Decisive Strike. So you could think it wouldn't be reasonable for any survivor to come in for a trade to save somebody when the plague has the power ready, right? And yes, it doesn't make sense unless the person has Decisive Strike. So essentially, all the Ace did was just run down the map away from the 3-gen, get downed. If the plague was going to pick up, they were going to get hit up by the Decisive Strike, and then there was going to be an M1 chase on check, rendering basically the game as a loss. Which Marco was playing a Monty Decisive Strike, trying to get down on the TNL, on which he didn't, which is unfortunate. Going back to check and then not getting that pickup anymore, playing on the Decisive Strike, which obviously didn't work out, but it was still a really good fight. If it wasn't for the Decisive Strike, or if it wasn't for the camp out, which I assume the survivors wouldn't have saved that if it wasn't for the Decisive Strike, you could argue that this would have been a very much different game, right? However, it didn't. We've seen two very much different playstyles, which is always great to see, and I'm honestly very, very excited to see what we're going to see now on the Oni set. If we again a third time going to see a different playstyle on both killers, or if you're going to see something similar, and then how it's gonna work out.
I was really surprised when they were kind of able, or when Mark was almost able to turn around that mid game as soon as he had 2 slugs and then just left them, and the game was single-handedly turned around by Dark and that incredible chase that he had in the corner of the map with only the TL and the already used short war jungle them that he had available. So yeah, that was quite the huge blunder, leaving 2 of those downs just on the ground, and not even if he was trying to avoid the Decisive Strike there. It's just a 25% chance of actually tunneling out the survivor with the Decisive Strike, so you always have to go that. You're kind of forced into it as the killer, as you need to get those eliminations out as early as possible. And yeah, with 2 survivors down and then both of them being picked up, that was superbly played, very well reacted to by our survivors of Team Synapse. So now they have successfully enforced this tiebreaker set, and everybody's looking forward to Oni. This is one of those killers that we've already talked about so many times. It's just so amazing to see the huge difference in playstyle with the ability, and then also just the M1 aspect of him at the start of the game, and how much he's changed. And we're going to be seeing him on Dead Dog Saloon on the very first time in this tournament. There have already been Oni sets in the past, and people were already quite flustered when they saw Oni load up into a map with a brown color palette instead of the very usual accustomed either Wrecker's Yard usually, or Call Tower even more likely. As we are already readying up in the background, SSB, do you have any further points to make about the game that we've just watched with huge turnarounds, the several that we had of quite the large quantity in the mid game?
No, not at all. I'm pretty sure you guys covered everything, hit the nail right in the coffin. I mean, it was definitely a roller coaster of emotions, a little bit of a heartbreaker for sure for Marco. Was in a really good spot, but then, like you said, maybe bit a little bit more than he could chew and ended up getting, the tiebreaker forced onto him. But like you said, Oni on Dead Dog is going to be so interesting to watch because, again, that mobility, can you get around from point A to point B when you do get that power, and how long will it take until that first hit? Because that first M1 is everything against Oni. If you can get that early, you're going to get your power that much sooner and that much more frequently. But we're going to have to see how these survivors are going to make this happen right here. This is the tiebreaker, and this is winner's bracket. So obviously, if you don't want to go down here, but if you do want to go down, if you do go down, you still have another chance next week. But this is definitely going to be everything. You're going to want to stay on that winner's side of bracket, obviously, because again, like we talked about earlier, so many teams at this point causing upsets, so many teams definitely clawing their way up until the number 1 spot. Now that obviously, not to sound like a broken record, now that Eternal is gone, everyone is like, oh, who's the next best team now? Is it going to be Elysium? But then obviously you see, we saw the Hens tournament, and now we see all these upsets. Synapse at this point making the upset out to Ariando last week, going to opt to try to do the same thing again. Can Lightning strike twice? Can you get the second upset onto Calamity to get yourself into winner semis of this bracket. Gonna get started already. Lactrin on the Oni on Dead Dog. Here we go, man.
Beautifully said, as we have successfully loaded in to this trial. Lactrin, also an Oni player who's been around for a very long time, has practically always played this killer for his team, as we are also seeing very common add-ons on this killer. Splinter Tool, something that is brought very famously, especially in comp matches. That's just going to give you extra blood off of that first hook. Basically, I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, it's 90% of that ability already. I mean, we're about to see very soon with Mordo, most likely. And of course, also the Accretor's Crutch, which is going to increase the movement speed during his ability to make it so much more lethal. And we're also seeing the first eruption of, I was going to say of the day, but no, the first eruption being brought in between these two teams. And we going to see Dark jumping off of Gallows is going to get some pressure onto that very precious gen that we usually surrounded by two other gens, and usually it being in the core of the 3 gen. But I don't think we actually saw a 3rd gen in that general corner. So it doesn't seem like Lactrin has the classic the Gallows 3 gen that he has. First hit is going to come through, and it is going to be Dark donating blood, and it's going to be how much would you say that is? I think 60?
Yeah,
just
definitely.
Off the hit?
Yeah, definitely got a little bit off the hit right there, but that first gen finally popping did actually was able to switch off of Mortal onto Dark as well. So I mean, Mortal had a crazy palette combination on that middle of the map. You have that slightly longer palette right next to main, or you have that palette on the shack right here. But here comes the pre-drop yet again, trying to make some more distance. Maybe if you force the break, then you switch to the other tile. If there's a window right here, that might be potentially there's a palette though that could be really helpful. This is where the mind game happens. Can you find it? No. Shoutouts to my boy Q. Get stunned, stupid. Here we go. Gonna make it out back to the water tower. Potentially no. Gonna wrap around the other side, and that's such a clutch window right here. Can you get the cut off? This is a mind game. If you can make it happen, this is gonna be the down right here. Potentially lots of blood being donated, like you said. Get the blood drive started. Finally gets the down onto Dark, but again, how much damage are we talking about right here in terms of gen progress?
Yeah, now that he has not been able to apply Eruption a single time, the pain was most likely coming through. 3, 2, 1, now. No, not even. Doesn't even find the Scorcher here in the corner. That's one generator popped, and I would not be surprised if a second one was to follow a third one in the grand scheme of things. We've got Pele already at 60%, and Sir sharing that exact same percentage on a different generator. Also, main building one that is usually practically uncontestable by an Oni. You have to go around all those corners, especially in the ability. That can still take quite a long time. Lactrin, deciding not to use his ability just yet, is going to most likely just wait for a compromising spot to use it for a chase, instead of using it to traverse the map and checking on the generator progress in the corner. This usually isn't really the start you would want, as it only took him quite a bit of time to get that first hit, and now he's about to get the second stage onto Dark. I don't think any of these players are going to contest it, but as we see it in the distance, that's 2 more gens pop, but he does have the 3 gen on the side, doesn't he? He doesn't even need Gallows, or does he has one in this corner and another next to the hook. Where's that third one?
Third one potentially could be on that side, on the other side of main. I'm not really 100% sure, but we're gonna get this save though finally. I mean, look, that's a lot of pressure right there. That's actually really smart. Pop in the power right here so you can make it back to the hook potentially. Either you get Dark, secure this kill, or potentially onto the rescuer to create more pressure right here. And like you said, really smart use right there. Tries to get the down right here, but makes the vault just in time, and you see Dark traverse over, I think, to the main building side. I mean, if anything, you're not going to waste your time on a reset potentially, but you do have that BL as well, so you can actually, if he pressures you, you can get away right here. Here comes the vault right here, stealthing out Mordo. The bush tech almost working.
It's a recipe for disaster already if you're doubling a generator in the corner, but our survivors might just get away with it. You've got Mordo in the bush and then being able to juke the ability as it runs out. That is unbelievable. This could have turned around the game entirely for Lactrin if he had gotten the double slug in the corner, but instead both survivors are going to make it out. Scott's free, they've used their get out of jail free card. They've played that superbly, unbelievable. Lactrin still only left at 2 stages into this trial, and the blood isn't even enough just yet to get his ability up, but he's probably about to get it very, very soon.
Yeah, definitely gonna get it very soon right there. Man, that was a crazy situation that could have gone way worse for the survivors. They got away with it. The things that this team can get away with if they play their cards right. Gonna get that hit again. And now take note real quick. Only 2 gens have been kicked. Normally, you know, a classic way to sell the eruption is by constantly kicking generators. You can make an educated guess right here. So whenever that happens, you do communicate the down. That way you get off so you don't get your aura shown. But however, can we get this down right here? Yes, we will. Gets the cup right there. That's quick change right there. Saw Mordo potentially in the corner. Yeah, there it is. Saw Mordo in the corner. Tries to shift a little bit to the left, but then sees that you could cut off Ace on the right. And that's exactly what he did. And now the pain res is gonna hurt for sure.
Yep. This is what Lactrin has been hoping for. You might have had a poor early game, but this is where... No. It is not going to be pain res. He really depended on that one. This could have turned around the game for Lactrin quite well, but he does not find a score trick. The RNG might have just completely messed his game over, as he didn't find a single one, neither on Dark nor on Sun. He still has all 4 stacks up, doesn't he? And he did not, I did get it off Dark, but he wasn't able to profit from this 3-gen whatsoever, and our survivors with a simple double off the gen in the corner next to the water tower / windmill. They were able to get out of this situation. But 2 survivors are still on hook, and this could potentially be another 4 stages if they both die. You see Pale coming for a very risky save against Power Oni, as we don't see the double down though, so Pale makes it out for now.
Yeah, makes it out for now. Potentially, you got Mordo taking that endurance hit, able to shift over to that top side of the map potentially. Can we find something else right here though? If you're Lactrin, can you find the mind game hit right here? No, gonna get the pallet right here. However, the gates have been opened as well. Something to note: no gen perks or no end game perks. I mean, so this is gonna be interesting. Whips another one, gets a swing and a near miss. Ken, you get it for a third time. Doesn't work.
There's no way. That's 2 spins back to back. There's no way Pally makes it out. Okay, I was going to lose it all if he had gotten away with that. That would have been incredible. My guy spins the Oni ability twice and almost makes it out. Let's see if our survivors come back from though. I mean, realistically, just as a sense of bro code, they should really come back for this now, considering how well he's just played this out. But it is basement. He's got splintered. It doesn't look like it. Pale is going to be the last, going to be another fresh survivor also. He's got 4 freshes and only 1 pain res in this trial. But that's going to be an extra 3 stages on the board for our killer. Lactrin will be able to get quite a load of stages, but did not profit from pain res at all. Managed to get 3 eruption pops at least. But the 3-gen was also immediately broken. Beautifully played by our survivors, and despite the amount of stages, still managed to get a 3-man escape here.
Yeah, 3-man escape right there. Those spins onto the Oni were insane to say the very least. It giving us a little bit of a war flashbacks from Pedro spinning Xeno during the last regular season of DBDLeague, which was crazy to say the least. We were getting a little bit more of that again potentially. If we would have gotten the 4-man escape after those spins, it would have been the most insane play ever. But we have juicers in DBDLeague confirmed 100%. Ratz, what do you think, man? That was a little bit of an emotional roller coaster. Every game so far has been so hyped to watch. Just share some thoughts with us if you have any to share with us.
Oh, of course. This game was an absolute roller coaster, as you've mentioned. This game went both ways all the time. When going from Mordo hiding in a bush and then getting away with it, and then running out of power into
bush tech OP.
Yeah, that was insane. Also, I assume that the RNG from the painers was really unfortunate for Lactrin here, but that's something we'll have to deal with if you play this game competitively, right? You'll have to watch out where your painers hooks are and where you want to take the first chases and downs. You could also argue that Lactrin's strategy of trying to get the first down with an M1 may have not been the play. You could argue that maybe it would have been better to, once getting the first hit, committing for the power, and then going to take the eruption as a perk to then contest the power, the 3-gen that he's not been broken yet. with his power, right? Like go to this regen, kick a generator, and then go for somebody with his power that's healthy, and then going back to the injured survivor to then get the power back, right? You could argue that this strategy of taking the first M1 hit down, like 2 M1 hits, into using the power to camp that hook may have not been the play because it took so long, right? 4 gens have been popped and the 3 gen was kind of like really not playable. It was too far away from each other. Yeah, we will see how Yorkat is going to play now. We've seen him perform very well on all the killers that we've seen from him so far in this tournament. Not only from last week, but also from this week, from the Wraith already. So we'll see what his strategy will be on the Oni. Maybe he will play it a bit differently. And the reason I argue that way, from what I'm saying, that Lacton's strategy might have not been the play, is because we've already seen a Oni set today between 2 other teams, where you could kind of get an idea from how they played. However, all those 3 games that we've seen from Oni so far all had about the same result of 6-7 stages. So this can still go either way, don't get me wrong. If the survivors are playing this well, this can still be less than 7 stages. If Yorkat is, 4K'ing again, I would be very much amazed, but this can definitely still go either way. It's definitely not over yet.
Personally, I've never seen Yorkat play Oni much, so this is going to be, I believe, my first to see him perform on this kill. I'm really curious to see his common playstyle being on killer, as we usually see him being very serious about his tunnel outs. We've seen that constantly in the past, where it's always 3 stages, 1 survivor dead, 6 stages, 2 survivors dead. He never really spreads stages, no matter what the win condition is, which might just help him now in the upcoming Oni game. That is what our killer from Team Calamity with. But Yorkat is quite used to getting these tunnel outs. He's been doing so for close to a decade now, probably. Got tunneling in his DNA. As we are now loading in to the probably, if it's not a tie-in, then we have to restart the whole set. But we are now loading into the, let's just call it the final trial between Synapse and Calamity, but right before we go into the final matchup of the day, which you're also going to have me and ssbkid joining you with on. So let's see what Yorkat has got to offer in the upcoming Oni set.
Yeah, that's right. Let's get it. We had a crazy match for the first one against Oni for the first half. If we get another one like that, I might need to take a quick little break. We might need to go after before the next set even begins. But here we go. Like you said, Yorkat, maybe a little bit of a trick up their sleeve. Not playing, like you said. You know this team very well, so not expecting the Oni pick, especially from Yorkat specifically. So maybe we'll see something right here. That has to be a quick free drop right there. No, you're gonna. Oh yeah, okay. I was gonna say, yeah. Do not read this. Do not give me a hit in 20 seconds, okay? But yeah, here we go.
But that would have been funny. Yorkat X marks the spot. He's coming in hard. He's already very close to getting that first tag onto our survivor, as we saw a very late drop on the shack pallet. A pre-drop now coming in on the filler. Yorkat is instead just going to kick this pallet. Probably also the smarter decision, as our survivors can just wrap around this tile very easily and then use the pallet for as many times as possible, since there's no entity blocker on pallets, and he's going to be able to close up the distance now to Marco, who was probably hoping to be able to use that pallet once more, but nonetheless, Yorkat has broken it already, barely going to make the vaults here. Yeah, Yorkat swings for it regardless. He is very ambitious today, as we've seen also swings on the Wraith game already. And yeah, Yorkat just trying to find the next victim that he could potentially draw first blood on, and it is going to be a Laser, our Michaela player on opponent's team here. We've going to use another filler, but that is going to be the first hit. Laser will be donating blood to Yorkat, now going to be able to get this game rolling. And if we remember correctly from the previous game, our dear killer already had 1 stage, 1 hook at 4 generators remaining, but we might see more popping here, as our survivors have already gotten 1 down, and it doesn't look like Laser's going down anytime soon.
No, definitely not gonna get this pallet break, forced to zone out onto that corner of the map right there that is still corrupted. So that actually might not necessarily be the greatest zone out, but it still has this pallet available, gets the immediate drop. This is a mind game situation right here. Can you get the down right here? Laser wisely getting that, that's Bloodlust 1 available right now. Can you catch up? And that's exactly what's gonna happen. Laser finally going down, 4 gens remaining. Man, that, you know, still able to actually get a lot of power available right here. So definitely can make something out. You can catch a survivor, you know, maybe rotating, and you maybe catch them with power right here. Gonna opt to potentially save it right here. Maybe as soon as you get break line of sight or you get line of sight, that might be when you pop the power figure again.
I also just realized Yokard also does not have the infamous Gallows 3 gen. I still think Yokard can turn this around in the late game, as Lactron also had a, comparatively speaking, poor early game, but they all had the potential of 3-genning. So if Yokard manages to pull off a better late game with a more promising 3-gen scenario, utilizing his Pain Res and Pop, also not going to see Eruption this time around. If he manages to utilize that more efficiently, then we might have a better late game for Yokard and an ultimate win by Team Synapse, as Hein now runs down a very long corridor. It's a death sentence against Oni as he goes down on top of main building. Laser is most likely going to be rescued before that second stage hits, but this is going to be, if Yokard is also not completely messed up, as we saw in the previous game, by the RNG of the Scorchuk spawn, then this could potentially already be the second Pain Res, but that generator pops, and that value is going to be decreasing that he could have got from the Pain Resonance.
Absolutely. That Pain Resonance, instead of hitting a gen that's at about 90%, is probably going to hit a gen that's either maybe at 10 or maybe even barely worked on to begin with. So, like you said, definitely not as much of a value right here. I'm going to get the reset onto Laser right here. And you see Lactron, you know, wisely work on that gen. You see it right there. That probably might have been around a 30% gen. So, actually, not the end of the world. You know, definitely I would rather take that than a gen being Pain Res at 90, 100%.
Oh, yeah.
So.
He does still have 3 gens on this side of the map around Shack at least, similar to what our killer from the previous trial also had. This generator, this time around the water tower generator didn't even spawn in at all. So the generator he already has on the street here is a bit closer to the generators he has up top, but he also still has the exact same corner gen that Team Calamity, or that Team Synapse on the survivor side had previously. So Yokard does have a sort of a more narrow 3-gen setup in this trial, but we'll see how it turns out in the late game, how Yokard is able to profit from his perks.
Yeah, definitely going to try to get something right here. Catches every survivor right here. The down is going, looking to be inevitable right here. Can you get the, are you going to get it? Oh, still had the endurance timer right there. That's something to note for sure when you're running towards that window. You know you're forcing the M1, but can you get there before the endurance timer runs out? And the answer is yes. Does have access to that power with that hit right there, though. So are we going to find something right here? Potentially. No, going to opt to go to water tower, maybe to cut someone off right there. And what a snipe from middle all the way to the corner by the water tower onto Marco. Yokat, great play right there.
Yeah, he is going to be able to get the, not yet the 3rd individual Pain Res, however. He's also a bit unlucky with that hook. Or Yokard didn't even try to get to a Pain Res here. He just wanted to get that stage out of the way as early as possible so he could collect more blood and hopefully strike down a second survivor while Marco is already on the hook. It's another slow late game, it seems like, unless we've got 3 survivors tripling the generator in the corner. No, that is definitely not enough pressure on that, and that would also be relatively fruitful to do against an Oni. Yokard's ability is now 99. He needs 1 more blood orb, which he did have available in the corner, but he decided to not pick it up, or just failed in doing so by not holding down M2 for long enough. Instead, he's just gonna go for the M1 mind game on Laser, which is not going to land. Laser will be able to hold his ground and win the reaction time-based game, but the ability kicks in now. He's going to utilize his ability to commit to Hein, it seems like, in the corner. Not going to go for any of the healthy survivors. A very early ambitious vault comes in, but Yokard strikes too early and will not be able to connect the down onto Hein, who will be able to run off scot-free. And it's going to be Marco, the ace that's already been sniped on water tower. Oh, it's been a distraction all along.
Maybe trying to catch Laser rotating. That's rather unfortunate, though. Gets the hit on the Laser. gonna get the second hook stage on a laser. Unfortunately, Hind was death hook, so that could have been an elimination right there. But going to opt to get to one of the people who was actually on. Flashy save. No. This is comp. This is comp. We're not getting that stuff here in competitive. You're not about to become a montage, all right? Yokat is better than that. But still ends up getting the second hook onto laser. Not before the last gem pops, though. It triggers the end game. No end game perks here either. So, you know, this is going to have to be, you have to guess right on the 50-50 which gate's going to get done first. Or can you get more downs and more hooks and create more pressure?
Oh, and he finds Lactrin. This is the survivor that might just change the outcome. He has not been hooked yet, so Yokard needs to desperately down the survivor if he wants to level with the individual stages in the previous game. And he needs stages, but Lactrin with a beautiful stealth play behind the rock. Are there minerals, Marie? But Yokard might not be able to That's unbelievable. That is unbelievable by Lactrin. Does that ability run out in time? Yokard still thinks he's edge map, but he isn't.
The fixated value! The fixated value is crazy. Let's go.
Lactrin, oh my god.
Oh my goodness, and that, oh my god. I have no words. I have no words.
Nah,
that crazy.
Did not just happen. Fixated value, as you've pointed out. People always underestimate how valuable it might be. Yeah, we see Lactrin is way too excited to even hit the skill checks here. Well, he's not joining Agony because he had a 95% great skill check accuracy, and that's just dropped tremendously. And just like that, that is not going to be enough stages for Yokorex. And usually our ace in the team Synapse's ace in the hole is able to turn the result around, but not this time around. Action was able to stealth that perfectly out the end game. That play single-handedly just won them the tiebreaker. Calamity 2-1 progress in the higher bracket into the upcoming semi-final.
Calamity stopping the potential Cinderella story run of Synapse, making it through into the winter semis of this winter circuit bracket where they're going to be facing Night Owls next week. What a great performance all around from everyone. There were so many crazy moments, just to say the very least. We got the snipes, we got the fixated value, we had all these different ways to play the same killer, which was such a treat to watch. But you know, gotta give some more time in the spotlight for my man Ratz, the analyst. Man, let's talk about this last one.
The Jew King. What a game. So yeah, what I would like to mention here is, again, the different playstyles. We have seen a very aggressive playstyle from your cuts, taking the power, going around the map, trying to get those fresh hooks this time, not the tunnel outs necessarily, like the fresh hooks, the Painlesses, the pops. It didn't work out. Unlucky Painless hooks RNG again, maybe, who knows? We don't get to see them, unfortunately. But what we do know is that Lactrin got away with murder. Have you seen him on the rock? He walks around that thing and just keeps walking around it, doesn't get found. He was the last one to be fresh hook. If he had been downed and hooked, this basically would have secured the win for Synapse. It was a very close fight, a very good showing from both teams. And I'm really happy that we've seen 3 games with 3 different playstyles, 6 different playstyles from 6 different killer playstyles on 3 different killers. I'm stumbling over my own words here, but
6 different performances.
Yes, thank you. And that was a hell of a match, a very close one, to say the least. We have seen very strong performances on both sides, on both teams, and yes, that's it for those 2 teams, and we will be back soon. I don't want to call it to the break, but I'll give it back to Mathis with the next matchup.
Yeah, after Lack, the Ripper has just gotten away with murder after he's been very successful on the Oni and that not found in the game right after. Yeah, we are going to take a quick breather here between the 2 matchups. Synapse and Calamity's wrapped up. Synapse will be going down to the losers bracket as Calamity stay on the higher bracket. They are going to remain. And the next upcoming match is going to be X9 versus Eternum.